So this week we are reckoning. Hello, I'm Joe.
I'm Mark.
And welcome to GAK. So this is our weekly show where we'll get to have a look at all the cool new gear that's arriving in the music instrument retail world.
As well as taking a look back at all the cool videos and stuff we got to film during the past week.
So traditionally this is quite a quiet time of year for the for music instrument retail, just because we've just finished NAMM. Winter NAMM's just happened. All the gear from all the major brands got released then. So not a lot of new stuff is coming out, but what is cool is a lot of it is starting to land. A lot of it is starting to come into the UK. But also, what's cool about NAMM is shops like us, like GAK, go to NAMM to meet brands that we don't necessarily have on our shelves and sort out getting them on our shelves, essentially. And we did that with NAMM. And so this week was the first week we got in these Anasounds effects.
Indeed.
Which are super cool. A really super cool, tiny French boutique pedal brand who makes some really interesting stuff. And what makes their pedals, I think, most unique and interesting is that they all come with wooden, mostly bamboo tops, which is really cool, really super unique.
Yeah, I mean, this is something I didn't get to see at NAMM.
No.
And something I don't really know much about, so I'm kind of learning with you.
Yeah.
How much do you know a lot about these?
So yeah, the fella Alexander, who owns Anasounds Effects with his wife, makes these. They look gorgeous for a start, but yeah, he does these bamboo, and I don't know what the wood. That might also be bamboo for all I know. We've actually picked my favourite two up. The Lazy Comp. I kind of like that all the effects that they have something that's a little different about them. So in the case of the Lazy Comp, it's just like a single rotary control on a compressor. But like, what would you think if there was going to be a single control on a compressor? You'd immediately think it's going to be the amount of compression. But that's not the case with the Lazy Comp. That is a wet-dry mix.
Wow.
So the amount of compression is already predetermined, and the idea is that Alexander says, he's like, well, I've worked out what I think the best amount of compression is on a guitar with this pedal, and you can just manipulate, you know, how much of that you want coming into your signal, which is really cool. Yeah. You can actually change the amount. I think there are some dip switches hidden behind here. And the other cool thing about Anasounds is they have a custom shop. So if you want something made a bit differently, they can do that as well.
So on Tuesday, Line 6 announced a new product.
Yeah.
Their power cabs.
The Line 6 power cabs, which
are...
You don't know.
No, I don't.
I'm super excited about this. The Line 6 power cabs are the best idea, and they're kind of the thing that I wish they'd brought out when they brought out the Helix, but I almost understand why they might have had some delay before they did that.
But this came out of nowhere, right?
This came out of nowhere. So, I think it was something like on the evening before, or maybe even on the morning. I got like an email from the marketing people at Line 6 being like, oh, by the way, this product's coming out in an hour. And it was the sort of thing I was like, man, why wasn't this released at NAMM? Why wasn't this a massive flagship thing? Because what the power cabs are is they are cabs with power amps in them to go with your Line 6 Helix. So the problem with the Line 6 Helix, or not problem, but
they're not powered.
Well, exactly. So if you want a Line 6 Helix, you would take that to a show and run it through the front of house, and that was always what everyone said. You run it through the front of house, or you bring your own cab and your own power amp, which is really expensive. There aren't that many power amps like on the market anymore. Yeah, expensive, heavy. You know, kind of what's the point? But loads of people were like, it's fine. You run it through the front of house, but that's metal bands. Metal bands are always going to want to run everything through the front of house. Yeah. I don't, but I kind of want the versatility that you get from a Helix or a Head Rush or.
So they've produced what people want.
Yeah.
They've listened to their audience.
Exactly. So yeah, for £500 odd, you've got a power amp and a 112 cab in one that you can plug your Helix into, use all the amp modeling off of the Helix. You can either turn the cab modeling off of the Helix and use, because there's a flat response FRFR 250 watt speaker in the power cab itself, which has, even in the power cab, there are 6 additional speaker cone models, so it can run like as a cream back, a green back, a blue back, a vintage 30, like loads of cool legendary sort of speakers. There's a really good video that Line 6 have put out with Paul Hindmarsh explaining all about the cab and how it works. But for, you know, that means you can buy a Helix for 900 quid. You can buy a Helix LT for whatever it is, 750 pounds. And you can get the power cab for 500 odd pounds. So sort of for like 1300 pounds, you can have a solution for absolutely everything. Yeah. And I mean, that's a studio solution as well. That's everything you ever need. That's every amp you ever needed and a cab. I think it's brilliant. I think it's a great product.
So as part of this new weekly show that we're doing, we've come up with a new segment called
Challenge Joe,
which is where I challenge Joe to do different things each week. So this week, I have challenged Joe to find a Strat that is not a Strat.
Yeah.
Run titles.
Challenge Joe!
So this week for Challenge Joe, Mark has challenged me to find a Strat that's not a Strat. But when is a Strat not a Strat? Is it when it's a Telly? Is it when it's a Silver Sky? Let's find out. So my first thought was the Ibanez AZ, because it is super Strat. It is kind of a Strat. You've got a Strat scratch plate, sort of HSS Strat configuration. You have the 5-way Strat knobs. The neck is kind of Telly-like though, and it is a little bit modern. It's more of a super Strat. Well, this is kind of not a Strat. It's like a mini Strat. The Schub Masqueraders are kind of a good shout because they've got Seymour Duncan pickups. They're kind of super stratty. They've got the cool solid rosewood neck, the aluminium inlays. Everything about them super cool. But the body shape isn't that stratty, so the Pro Mod Sandy Mass Charvels. Now these kind of are a Strat. I mean, that is a Strat body shape. That is a Strat headstock, but made by Charvel. So that's a Strat that's not a Strat. But then Charvel are made by Fender in the same factory. So maybe this is just a Strat.
Okay, so what have you come back with? What did you pick?
Well, after checking out loads of things and working out what the best Strat is that's not a Strat, I decided it's not a Silver Sky. I decided that I think Music Man have actually done it with the Cutlass, and actually in particular I picked up the Sterling Cutlass, nice. Which is Sterling by Music Man. Sterling are the Squire to Music Man's Fender, that sort of thing, but a bit more, tend to be a bit more premium than that. So they're really well built, great, kind of affordable, sort of mid-priced guitars. And the Sterling Cutlass, I just think is an absolutely banging Strat that's not a Strat, that has, I mean, it's so Stratty, it's everything about it's Stratocaster, but it has some cool, subtle, improved features. Things like locking tuners on a guitar that's like sub £600. Which I think is super cool. I love that it's like vintage tint pickup covers and controls and a 5-way selector. I love everything.
I can totally agree with you. Like I've played this a few times. And
yeah,
it is a banging guitar.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Shall we have a listen?
Yeah.
So a new series we started brand new this week was guitars from the movies, and to kick it off, we looked at Back to the Future, which had about 4 guitars in it, I think.
Yeah.
That we had a look at. So we looked at the guitars that featured in that film, and then some kind of modern alternatives to what you could get on the market now.
Yeah. Because in most cases, and especially with that film, there aren't sort of modern things because it was so of the time. Like the little travel guitar, the Chiquita that uses in the opening scene. Obviously, those don't exist anymore. But you do have Hofner shorties. I mean, I'm not entirely sure why you'd want to replicate that scene, but
it's a cool scene.
Yeah, fine. And the Hofner shorty is still a cool sort of little travel guitar. And I didn't realise when we filmed it. Didn't you say it's less that it's like 110?
Yeah, £112.
Which is crazy for it.
And then we took a look at maybe the guitars in the movie that aren't the iconic ones. Isn't the Red Gibson 3, 4, 5?
Yeah.
We'd look at the Ibanez Roadster.
Yeah, Roadster 2.
And the PRS
CE24.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a look at them, which was super cool.
Yeah.
Really, really interesting. Now, if you're a regular watcher of the channel, you'll know that we do Gak Sessions, which we put up every week, which is where we get local musicians and local artists to come in and play.
Yeah, we have to try and fit them into this room, which isn't the biggest room.
Yeah, and we've done a lot of acoustic, like solo duos in the past, but more recently we've done bands or like drum kits and like full 5-piece, 6-piece at one point, I think.
Yeah.
Bands. So the Big Push was
the Big Push was who we had most recently, which I think is the most amount of people we've ever tried to fit in this room because they had 2 guitars, a bass player,
I think it was
a drummer,
5. I think
singer,
we might have had 6 before.
Trumpet player. Was there 2 guitars? Or maybe there was one.
Know.
There's whatever. It was a lot.
There was a lot of people to fit in this space.
Yeah, and it's cool because it's the idea of those videos is obviously everyone gets to play, but also we get to like show off some of the cool gear that we have that we don't often get to get out. The Big Push were fun because they wanted every guitar that they'd requested. They wanted in black. Yeah. So we had to try and source it all.
And luckily we got a black drum kit as well, which they were highly pleased with.
Which is they requested, which I thought was super cool, a Gibson ES275, which was great because it's such a lesser known like Gibson Memphis hollow body, and we happen to have this really great looking like black gold hardware Torque Guard 275. That might be my new favourite sort of hollow body, just because it's somewhere in between a 335 and a 175, and it has all the best bits of both.
And what I really liked about them as well, like they were super nice guys, and having that the trumpet aspect as well, gave it a really nice sound. Yeah, that was super cool. The bass player used a Hofner ignition bass, which is like, I thought it was funny. Like the 275 is like a £3,000, maybe $3,500, like the top of Gibson Memphis custom shop. And it was a Hofner ignition bass, which is their violin bass. It's about 300.
No, it's less than that.
Really?
It's like it's like 250, 270, something like that. It's one of the cheapest bass guitars I think that we do as a company, and the cheapest thing that Hofner do as a brand. But it actually sounds great.
It did. It sounded good, and the whole thing sounded good. So
yeah.
And sticking with the sessions, we had Alma in.
Alma,
which you know him personally.
Yeah, Pete Lambrou, the fellow who does Alma. Yeah, we had just him in because they're a 2-piece who sometimes have extra members, but he uses so much stuff because he uses a lot of live looping. He uses a Boss RC300 to loop everything up with a couple of pedal boards, and he has some of his guitar signal going through like a bass rig. He was using a Fender Bassman 59, the 410 tweed combo amp, which sounded amazing, and then just like a Roland FP30, just a really basic keyboard, but just he was using the Ditto x2 looper as well to reverse everything, which I thought sounded great. It sounded super cool. And then this week, really recently, we had Sebastian Schub. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I'm not entirely sure. Who was just a solo artist, real bluesy though. Really. What was he playing? Do you remember It was a Faith.
It was a Faith.
I can't remember exactly what. Tom.
Blood Moon.
Oh, the Blood Moon.
think it was the Venus Blood Moon.
I didn't even realise we still had any of the Venus Blood Moon.
And that sounded good. That sounded really nice. And he plays great. So
that series is quite old now, that Faith Blood Moon series. I don't think they do it anymore. I think it was like a really limited edition range of stuff that Faith put out. But I'm surprised we've actually still got any of that stuff because it was really great.
But I think Faith are highly underrated. I think they don't get a lot of the limelight often, and I think they're great.
Yeah, I don't know how many people know sort of the origins of Faith because it's Patrick James Eggle who is behind Faith. Now that's the same guy who's behind Patrick James Eggle guitars and Patrick Eggle guitars. I think that it's because he left Patrick Eggle guitars, but the company carried on without him, and he then set up Patrick James Eggle guitars. Yeah. If you go to like a guitar show, if you go to any guitar shows in the UK, both companies are always there, which is hilarious. There's always like a Patrick James Eggle guitars with Patrick Eggle there, and the other one that has nothing to do with him now. I don't think has anything to do with him. And yeah, he was behind Shergold, because they're all part of like Barnes and Mullins, who are like a big distributor in the UK. But yeah, he was the guy behind Shergold guitars that have come back from the dead recently, that are completely awesome. Those Shergold guitars with like solid, find another guitar for £800 with a solid rosewood neck and like hand laid aluminium bar inlays and Seymour Duncan pickups. They're proper wicked, those guitars. But yeah, he does Faith. Faith is his biggest thing now, his main thing.
You're just a fountain of knowledge, aren't you? On that note, not on that note, but on a note, the sessions, if you are interested in coming in for the sessions, then drop us a line at some point and we will get you in.
Yeah. So in another weekly segment, we're going to take some of the best, hardest wearing equipment in music instrument retail, and we're going to try to destroy it with fire by dropping it in pitchers of beer. This segment is
The Wreckoning.
So this week we are reckoning. So this week we are reckoning a Shure SM58, the industry standard, the most rugged and hard-wearing microphone that you will see in every pub, club, venue, stadium going. The Shure SM58, the most popular microphone of all time, sold literally in their droves the world over. We're going to put them to the test.
Yeah, and we thought multiple ways of destroying this. But what have we decided?
We are going to drop this into a pitcher of beer and then plug it in and see if it works. And hope that we don't get electrocuted.
Indeed. So the SM58 has been drying for about 24 hours.
Yeah, it's still really sticky.
I imagine it is. So have you got it?
Got it.
Got it here. So Tom, if you mute these microphones and we will have a test listen to this.
And as you can hear, the SM58 has completely survived being dropped into an entire pitcher of beer. But I wish I had wiped it down before using it. Although I kind of feel like this was maybe a little bit of an easy test for the Shure SM58, because Shure themselves did this test to destruction video where they threw one into the sea, and I'm sure that like salt water is way more damaging than beer, and a 58 still worked.
Why do you think salt water is more damaging than beer?
Because I don't know, there's salt in it. It might degrade the stuff in the microphone. Do you not think that would be a thing? Well, fine, whatever. It's at least as damaging as beer, and it survived.
Yeah, equally damaging.
Right, fine, and it survived it. And they ran it over and flattened this whole the head, but then explained that it's designed to be able to crumple.
Yeah, I mean, gigs they're always dented. Like to find a year-old SM58 that hasn't been dented.
Yeah, exactly.
But it doesn't surprise me. Like, you know, these microphones are the staple gig microphone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And most of them have probably had tons of beer poured over them anyway.
Well, yeah, they've been making them for like, 2 decades, but more than that. But the one that surprised me in their video is they also set it on fire. And I am surprised that I would be sure that there is some form of cabling in here that shouldn't be able to withstand fire.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously. Yeah. I've never actually taken one apart to have a proper look, but
there you go.
But then I would have, it's impressive that fluids don't destroy it.
It's fine. So this passes our Wreckoning test and is still the hardest wearing microphone in the world.
So another cool thing that we saw at NAMM was the new Fender Parallel Universe series. And we had the first one come in during the week.
Yeah, that's right.
The first release, which was the Stratelli, as we named it.
The Telrat.
The Telrat, which is a Strat Tele hybrid.
Yeah, it's a Tele body with Strat configuration.
Yeah. So I had a little chance to play with that. It's great.
Yeah, they're awesome. Cool. They're doing it's quite a cool way that Fender are releasing those. So the Parallel Universe series are coming out one instrument every month. This was the first one in that series. They're definitely something completely different, and I kind of think at this point in time when Fender have really nailed all their standard stuff, like the American professional stuff is the best that their sort of standard line of American guitars has ever been. We're seeing they're so strong at the moment with the Mexican classic series and classic player series. The American original series is like a reboot of the American vintage series and is just made everything about that series better. They're just doing everything so well. It's kind of the perfect time for them to branch out and make something a bit weird.
Yeah, there's been a bit of controversy about the Parallel Universe series, and there seems to be some people like it, some people don't. And with the Stratelli, as we said, it's for Tele players that like the look of a Strat.
Other way.
Strat players that like the look of a Tele.
Yeah.
Again, it's down to preference. I mean, I quite like it, and there's some cool ones coming up that will obviously be released in the next 6-7 months.
Yeah.
Some really exciting ones. But are you a fan? You liking them?
I like some of them.
NAMM, right?
Yeah, I saw them at NAMM, and I really like. They do. There's the Blackguard Telecaster, which is the quintessential butterscotch Tele with a black scratch plate. That's the Boss Telecaster sort of thing. I like that they introduced the White Guard Strat, which was cool because it's a Tele on a Strat body but with a white plate, and it's sort of butterscotch with a white plate. So it almost looks like a double cut Telecaster, which I would prefer. Yeah, Fender could just do a double cut Telecaster, but I think it's super cool. I think there are some things that I really like. There are some things that I really don't like.
There's a brand new one, isn't there?
The Meteora.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, the Meteora, which looks a bit like, Lace, the company that make the Lace sensor pickups that go in the Eric Clapton Strat. They actually make guitars, and they do a guitar that looks really similar to that. So yeah, they do the Meteora isn't. I don't think it's completely original. I think it's actually happened before. I think even Fender have done it before.
Okay.
And I think the Lace guitar that they do might be kind of based on the original. It might not be. It could just look similar. I mean, there are only so many shapes you can make.
Yeah.
So that was what happened at GAK this week. You've found out what the best Strat is that's not a Strat. You've learned all about Ana sound effects pedals, and you've found out that an SM58 can in fact survive being dropped into a pitcher of beer.
If you've enjoyed this video, then please give us a like and a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this, then please hit the subscribe button, and we shall see you next week.